everything is connected with the time vacuum. It's a parallel between.
No precedent for this, no way of getting our bearings, nobody to tell us what's happening. We're suddenly projected into a world where everything happens at once. That is electrical. The same information is available at the same moment from every part of the world. Energy is available everywhere at once. And retrieval systems, electric retrieval systems, enable us to recall anything at all, instantly. This kind of total memory, such as, for example, permits even now by microcard, the putting of all the books in the world on one desktop. Electrically, it is possible to put every book in the world and every page of every book in the world on one desktop.
We live in an economic world in which information itself has become the main commodity. Packages and consumer goods are now a relatively minor commodity compared to just information.
Where does this information output? The fact that information is so readily available, where does that put the traditional family situation, for instance?
It means, for one thing, for example, that the computer could become the basis of a cottage economy again. Just as the kids have gone back to the Middle Ages in their costumes and social outlook, role-play, so our economy could go back to the cottage economy of a much earlier time. You could run the world's biggest factory in a kitchen by a computer. In other words, the nature of instant speeds, telephone, telex, computer, is to decentralize all forms of management and all forms of hardware. The computer literally could run the world from a cottage.
I learned as a teacher of English and criticism, I learned this technique of structural analysis. I learned it at Cambridge from Richards and Emerson and people like that. So,
I'm not familiar with them.
Well, it's called the new criticism in English, but it's really structural analysis.
What does that mean?
Well, it's just this, that you attack the poem as a situation, a complex situation. You attack a word as a complex situation.
As a part of a wider...
Yes, a figure ground.
Right.
And so it is structural, always structural, and there are no value judgments. So what you're studying are really formal causes, not efficient causes. Now the moralist works always with efficient cause, or material cause.
How did you get from literature into the media? I mean,
Well, that's the root.
idea...
That was the root. Because as soon as you learn structural analysis in poetry, you quickly can apply it to environmental factors.
In your mind, how did that...
Well, that happened at Cambridge. I have a book here called Culture and Environment by one of these critics, Levis, which I can show it to you. That was one of the books that started me on to the job of doing poetic analysis of the environment.
Right, it was.
It's what Barthes calls mythologies. Roland Barthes calls mythology. These are structural analyses of popular objects, popular themes.
Just as the kids have gone back to the Middle Ages in their costumes and social outlook.
Well, a woman's car looks like it was beaten down in a hailstorm. Her insurance wasn't sure it would cover the damage caused by not hail, but a high elf prepping for battle in the middle of a Portland intersection.
That woman there getting help, police say he is facing charges. What those will be up to the grand jury. The victim tells me she's sharing her story. At the time, he told them he was a high elf battling Morgoth from Lord of the Rings. Do you regret what happened? What's hard for me is because the story, it's such a bizarre story.
Youth instinctively understands the present environment, the electric drum. It lives it mythically and in depth. This is the reason for the alienation between generations, because the older...
Play. Anything you want to do, anyone you want to be, you can do that through
Because the older training of observation has become quite irrelevant in this new time. The older training is based on psychological responses and concepts conditioned by the former technology, mechanization.
My own means way of testing the sorts of effects that any new form is likely to have on us is to keep a sharp lookout on changing styles in the arts. The artist is always a jump ahead of technology and is engaged really in giving you images of what sort of effects it's likely to have upon you later on. So that the changing style in the arts, like pop art and so on, are pretty good indications of the real meaning of television. Pop art simply tells you the only art form left for you today is your own natural environment. You have now to program it as if it were a work of art and an environment. So to suddenly be confronted with the need to use the human environment itself as art form is one way of drawing attention to the fact that the new environments created by new media require a certain amount of human programming and control for our psychic life.
Simultaneous space is acoustic because what you hear from all directions at once, which creates a sphere whose center is everywhere and whose margin is nowhere. The peculiar character of acoustic space is simultaneously coming from all directions, creating this strange space which is spherical and musical, all directions at once, equals right hemisphere versus left hemisphere of the brain. Needless to say, the left hemisphere is entirely written tradition, and the right hemisphere is mainly acoustic. The right hemisphere is the only one that has the simultaneous power of pattern recognition. The left hemisphere, being lineal, logical, connected, has no ability to, for example, recognize a human face. A person using only the left hemisphere cannot see a face, because the face has so many components that have to be simultaneously apprehended. Old IBM saying, information overload equals pattern recognition. At the speed of light, at electric speed, pattern recognition tends to be acoustic. Western philosophy is almost 100% left hemisphere, entirely concerned with logic, connection, and classification. But anyway, the hidden ground that Aristotle and Plato were totally unaware of was literacy. Phonetic literacy. Anyway, there is no other kind of literacy that has the effects that we relate to literacy. There are many kinds of writing which are not phonetic and which have none of the effects of phonetic literacy. Phonetic literacy has the amazing power to separate the visual faculty from our other senses. It's the only alphabet that has that power to separate the visual from all the other senses, of which there are several. Some psychologists say there are about 35 senses. But the visual faculty is pulled out into high definition by phonetic literacy. Phonetic literacy has this capacity of being meaningless. The phonemes in the alphabet are meaningless. They have no semantic meaning. A, B, C, D are not phonemes, those are morphemes. When you say A, B, C, D, abacada is phonemic. A, B, C, D is morpheme. Has meaning. The ABCs, he knows his ABCs is a meaningful statement. But the abacada is not. When the separation of meaning from the visual came into play, it split Western man wide open. For the first time in human history, the visual part of man came alive in isolation from the rest of man. But it was really phonetically in which you were able to put into these meaningless forms the oral tradition. Homer could then be put down visually after centuries of being sung. The moment the poets became visual, Plato began to yell to get rid of the poets. He was absolutely anti the poetic establishment because it was acoustic, irrational,
Remember the
non-logical.
purpose. Your purpose for this
But
exercise.
the pre-Socratic styles, per se, are back. Heraclitus and the oral tradition is now back thanks to electricity.
Summer stock in the winter. You've all heard of theater around. Looking at the man who invented theater. Christine, hey. You okay? Yeah, thanks for coming to get me. Come on in. I got severe tire damage. You know those signs, it's true. Yeah. Wait, hang on a second. You got it? Yeah. Wait, stop. No, stop. Don't do anything. I'm not doing anything. You gotta stop. Okay, now. Okay. Oh, man. Okay. Yeah, my car, the gate crashed right now. We're just taking this thing to yoga class. Oh, okay. No. Is that a prefix you think? Yoga, yogurt. You think that's related? Gurt-ga. They're both healthy things. Yogurt, yoga. That's a prefix? No. Hey, I thought of some more yos. Yodel. Have you ever yodeled?
Larry?
Hi, Christine. How about what's his name from the movie? Why don't you come up front? Good. Are you serious? Larry, I'm not going to drive you around like your chauffeur. Get in the fucking front seat, right? Not driving me around like my chauffeur. 2 minutes from a rehearsal hall. You know, what kind of person asks another person to drive them around like this? This kind of mentality is what kind of person is so insecure that they have to make somebody move into the front seat so they don't think that they're driving somebody around? No, the kind of person that's so insecure that needs to be driven around in the back seat. Subliminally telling you that you need me to drive you around. Leave my seat, go into the front seat. Because I asked you to sit in the front seat of my car.